Hello and welcome to the Cellar Door, New Zealand. I'm George and I have arrived in the world-famous Marlborough region at the top of the South Island. Today I'm at Marisco Vineyards, home to one of New Zealand's and my most favourite drinks, the Ned. Let's go check it out. We've hit the South Island, where some of the most stunning scenery meets some of the most stunning wine. We've hit New Zealand's largest wine region. You may have heard of their world-famous Sauvignon Blanc. The unique combination of diverse soils, crisp nights and sunny days have made Marlborough's vibrant and aromatic wines famed worldwide. I'm starting my tour of the region at Marisco Vineyards, a family-owned and operated, award-winning wine producer, and home to the iconic wine brand, the Ned. I'll be tasting the Ned a little later, but first Brent is showing me around, and there is a lot to see. Hello, Brent.
Hi, George. Welcome to Marisco Vineyards.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you here.
Now, this is your vineyard, your kingdom, as
Our
it were.
kingdom, yes, it is our vineyard. This is a 250-hectare property in the Waihopai Valley of Marlborough. And about 10 years ago, we built this beautiful winery to take all our fruit in to handle our lovely brand, the Ned.
Yes, an iconic brand.
It is an iconic brand. It's something that's close to my heart because being born and raised here, the Ned itself is all about young at heart. And all around this winery is beautiful hills. And then to build this beautiful winery to allow us to process our fruit easily has been a dream come true.
Do you only process the fruit from this vineyard here, or?
We've got a beautiful property just up the valley on Leafield Station. And so we've got a small winery up there, but we also bring the fruit down here for processing as well. So the Sauvignon Blanc, the Pinot Gris, the Chardonnay all come here, and so does our hand-picked Pinot Noir. So pretty special site that works for us. So.
And I believe you've got another very special little site within here with some pretty cool barrels.
Got some pretty amazing barrels.
Now, Brent, I've seen barrels before, but I've never seen a barrel quite like this one.
So this is actually not a barrel, this is an amphora. So we've got this from Europe, which helps us with our winemaking techniques and trying new things that are a little bit different, a little bit innovative.
New things that they look pretty old.
They are very, very old, very traditional style of fermentation. So we actually ferment fruit in here on skins. And so that gives a whole different flavour and character to our wines versus something like this, an oval, 1,000-litre oval, which we would ferment just wine in here, just juice and wine in here, with all the solids on the bottom. And again, it gives a slightly different technique to what the amphora does.
And I guess the terracotta would also impart some flavour.
Imparts some character, but it's also that, think of it breathing, and think of it giving a little bit of texture, and also it doesn't have any temperature control. There is temperature control in the room, but it allows the fermentation to really heat up and give off aromatics and flavours and characters that you may not have seen before. So it makes it really exciting.
Yeah. And I can't help but notice this oval has a name.
Are
they all named, or?
No, this has a name. This is Emma. This is my eldest daughter. She was actually over in France at the time watching this this oval being built. And so when it arrived here at the winery, as a little surprise, they had put her name on it. So she feels pretty proud, and she definitely feels that whatever comes out of this oval is hers.
Great. There's plenty more to see, but I think we should have a drink. Let's meet the Ned, out in the original vineyard on the banks of the Waihopai. Born of the Waihopai Valley, the Ned represents the vibrant diversity that is so prevalent in the Marlborough wine growing region. Now, Brent, how did the Ned get its name?
Well, George, the Ned itself is actually a mountain in that range behind us, and it's a mountain that sits looking down over the Wairau Valley, and it's a mountain where I used to ride horses, go hunting and hiking when I was a child. And so the idea was to make a wine that would end up being like young at heart. So here in the Waihopai Valley, we chose the Ned as the brand, and it lends back to our childhood, and every time we try the wine, we should feel young at heart.
Oh, well, shall we?
I think we should. Here we go.
So it's obviously a very special place for you.
It is a very special place. This particular property that we're on is a 250 hectare terrace, or terraces, that go down to the Waihopai River.
So the terrace is not a built terrace, it's a name for the...
No, the terraces are the terraces that were naturally formed over the last 20,000 years. So we're actually in a valley that 20,000 years ago was glacial formed.
Right.
And so those terraces sit there, completely different soil types, and it really gives this whole property that extra X factor which flow through to the wine.
And I just got a little hint of the bouquet. Look at that colour.
It's amazing, isn't it? So what we're trying to do here is, in 2022 Sauvignon Blanc from the Waihopai really reflects in that aroma in the nose, but really thinking about that blue sky, the green grass, the cold water of the Waihopai, and that's what we're trying to capture in this wine.
So fresh and fragrant,
vibrant, and lovely length on the palate. A wine that has a nice amount of zing, fruitiness coming through, but lovely persistence, and that for us is what the Waihopai delivers. It's what Marlborough delivers.
And this is a unique style of Sauvignon Blanc, isn't it?
It is unique in so much as it's single vineyard or single valley, because we have another property up at Leafield Station, and we've made it in a way where we're really trying to capture what you taste in the vineyard. When you bite into the berries of the Sauvignon Blanc, you capture those same characters in the glass.
It's got an appliness to it.
That appliness is that little bit of crunchy. And so the wine itself is quite tightly wound, but if you think about a green granny apple, that's what's coming through.
Yeah.
And that crunchiness is a little bit like the rapids in the river, the stoniness of the greywacke, and it's what the terraces form to give that little bit of what we call minerality coming through. So, yep, you're spot on there.
It's the lightest stuff I think I've ever seen.
Well, what we're trying to do here is, because we've got the vineyard around the winery, we really don't have to put a lot of additives into the wine, so we're getting it off the skins early, but getting that concentration of flavour coming through, and it means that the wine looks, tastes and smells extremely fresh, so that's what you're picking up. The zest, the little bit of lime, that's what we're after, and then it has this lovely texture and smoothness on the palate that goes on and on and on forever. So at the end of the day, it seems to tick a few boxes.
Very much.
Cheers.
I'm at Marisco Wines in Marlborough, and before I try some other Neds, Brent is taking me to see the new property at Leafield Station. An historic beef and sheep station, Leafield lies in the southern upper reaches of the Waihopai Valley.
So it's 2,000 hectares that back in its day was quite a prestigious sheep and beef farm. It's got about 600 odd hectares of beautiful flats. And it's on those flats that we've planted our vineyard.
So you planted all of...
We've planted all of this, all of Leafield.
This glacial valley, filled with mineral-rich soil and beautiful rolling foothills, is primarily planted with Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Gris, Pinot Noir and Chardonnay.
The beauty is we've been able to keep the waterways exactly where they were, and what we've done is we've planted about 5,000 natives down the waterways to really try and bring back the native tui, the fantail and other birds.
Native seeds are collected in the wild and propagated in the on-site nursery.
And the benefit of that is that the natives are used to the environment that they're grown in. So when we then plant them down on the flats, they're already hardened to this environment. On the farm, we've got probably about 11 or 1200 hectares of rolling country going up to quite steep country. And on there we run our Angus stud. We've got Romney sheep, and now we've got Hampshire sheep. And so it's giving us a chance to really integrate the whole farming and viticulture in a way where we can make both work together. And the way that works is that a lot of our sheep that we have in the high country we bring down in the wintertime to the flats, and so they eat the grass between the rows, which means we don't have to mow, and so there's less tractor hours and things like that. What we're driving down now is the entrance into Leafield Station, and we've planted about 300 plane trees, and these trees in time will end up creating that whole avenue of trees that goes into the station itself. This is now coming into the what we call the village. This is the heart of the station.
While I'm here, I'm meeting Siobhan to hear a bit more about how all of this came about.
Siobhan, you have been with Marisco Vineyards for about 15 years?
Yeah.
So I imagine you've seen some changes in that time?
Definitely, yeah. I essentially came on board just after Brent had sort of started the business, and we were working out of Brent and Rosemary's house.
Right.
So we had this fantastic little office under the garage, and real family business.
But after the Ned launched, everything changed.
Back in about 2010, 2011, as a business, we had this big conversation like, we need more land, you know, because the sales are growing, we need more grapes. So Brent and the team went on a search. I went off and had a baby.
Oh, yes.
Came back and they bought Leafield Station.
I'd go away for 5 minutes.
I know. So that's where we're standing now, is Leafield Station, which we purchased back in 2013. And it's a beautiful property. Yeah.
And it's huge.
It's huge. And when we purchased it, it was a farm, a working farm in Marlborough, sheep and beef. And what Brent and Anton, our viticulturist, loved about it was that it was in the Waihopai Valley, which is our home, and beautiful flat rolling country which could be converted to vineyard. But super exciting, we could run a farm alongside viticulture, which was pretty unique for New Zealand at the time.
And you're still running that farm?
Yeah, we are still running that farm. So we've got about 4,500 stock units on the farm in the sort of the lower hill country. Brent was really keen to keep that traditional farming station feel. So all of the buildings that are used for housing tractors and for the viticultural support.
And there's quite a few of them.
Yeah, there are. They keep popping up. He's built in that style, and he had the vision of creating a kind of village feel.
And you offer experiences to your sort of VIP guests that involve the animals, don't you?
Yeah, we do. So lots of, as you can imagine, with a brand as iconic and well known as the Ned, lots of people come to see us, and we wanted to offer people an experience that they wouldn't get anywhere else. So they come here, we show them obviously the traditional vineyard and winery tour and tasting, but then they get to come up here, and we have Greg, our farm manager, who's amazing with people, and he'll take them walking with the bulls, or he'll do a dog demonstration showing how his working dogs can work the sheep. Quite often there might be a new little sort of brood of piglets that have been born, and you know, so it's really great. And especially those overseas visitors, they just love it. It's, you know, that real touch of New Zealand, and
and quite special.
Yes, really special.
Speaking of special, let's get back to the net, shall we?
We've tasted our fresh crisp Sav.
And let's try the Ned Pinot Gris 2022.
Now, you're a winemaker here, and you have been a winemaker for all of your life.
I have. So now I've been a winemaker for over 30 years, believe it or not. So I was born and raised here in Marlborough. My father was the person back in 1973 that actually purchased the land for back then Montana, now Pernod Ricard. And he was the person who set up the first commercial vineyards in Marlborough. So that was super exciting.
So we have your dad to thank.
We have our dad to thank for Marlborough. 1978, we became one of the first contract growers in Marlborough. And I'm the eldest of 6 children. Mum and Dad had 6 of us, 6 under 6, so very busy back in the day. And being the eldest, I always wanted to be like my father and then end up working in the vineyards. Couldn't get an education over here in viticulture or winemaking, so went to Roseworthy College in Australia.
SA represent.
SA represent. So that was really cool, and came back as a qualified winemaker and then worked for a couple of companies here in New Zealand before I chose with Rosemary, my wife and family, to find a really special site in Marlborough, and we ended up choosing this beautiful property in the Waihopai Valley to become the home of the Ned.
Do you think that, is it coincidence that it was so close to the Ned that you discovered this perfect site?
I think when you've lived in Marlborough and you're looking for something that's super special and you're used to the coast but also used to the river, to find something that has those terraces that really talks to you about home, that made it easier. And so then, having made wine in the valley for so many years, I understood how this valley worked as far as flavours go and the cool air coming down from the mountains and our proximity away from the coast. It means that within the valley, at night during the growing season, we are 2 or 3 degrees cooler, but during the day,
got that bright sun.
We've got the bright sun, and during the day we don't have the cool breeze from the coast, so we're 3 or 4 degrees warmer during the day. So that difference in night and day temperature is what makes these wines that much more special, that much more crunchy and bright, and it's what I think the consumer really, really enjoys and appreciates.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Ned is iconic throughout Australia and New Zealand and
the UK.
Yeah,
it's become a real household brand, which we're excited about. And it's something that's evolved, over time, but we've really worked hard at consistency in our winemaking, controlling our destiny, so having our own winery around the vineyards and being able to control from the growing to the making, and then of course the barrels, amazing, and then of course then taking it to the market. And
to the lips of the consumer.
To the lips of the consumer.
So we've got a beautifully coloured Pinot Gris here.
So with the Ned Pinot Gris, the hallmark for this wine is that little bit of almost rosé, a little bit of rose petal colour.
Little blush.
A little blush. And what we're doing there to achieve this is actually letting the fruit sit on the skins for 3 or 4 hours before we press it. And what this does is it allows the skin colour to come through into the wine itself, and then we ferment it at a very cool temperature and try and retain that colour, and it's actually become a hallmark for this wine to the point that if it doesn't have colour, it's not the Ned Pinot Gris.
Right.
So it's something that has become super associated with the brand, and it's a technique that we use in the winery that the guys love doing.
And we love drinking.
We love drinking it.
Cheers.
Cheers. So that fruitiness that's coming through, that lovely blossom, pear blossom, a little bit of lychees.
Really, like a hint of the lychee sweetness.
Coming through. And that's, again, it's something that the valley delivers, where you've got small berries that are quite concentrated. We've got this beautiful heat that we get during the day, the cold at night, and you end up with this lovely texture coming through right through the whole palate.
Yeah, there's like a tropical kind of finish to it.
It is, absolutely. So it's become, amazingly popular, and it's a style that people really, really enjoy, and that little bit of hint of acid / texture sweetness on the finish means that people love going back for that second glass of wine, which is always important.
It is indeed.
Whilst filming the Cellar Door New Zealand in the Marlborough region, our crew chose to stay at the Chateau Marlborough. Their amazing team are ready to welcome you to the only 5-star hotel at the top of the South Island. Chateau Marlborough is a perfect base for exploring this amazing region. Enjoy the beautiful surroundings overlooking Seymour Square Gardens or take a quick walk to Blenheim's town centre. Select from a luxury suite or apartment-style accommodation. To book your stay at the Chateau Marlborough, visit marlboroughNZ.co.nz.
I'm in the Marlborough wine region at Marisco Vineyards, and Brent is showing me a few more unique aspects of the winery. With a focus on efficiency and wine quality, Brent looked to other agricultural industries when designing the winery and found some useful inspiration.
So the whole inspiration came from the dairy industry, where we started off by using the pumps that really work well with milk. And so that's very soft on grape juice, so it doesn't think of it bruising the grape juice, it's really, really gentle. And what we do is from the press, the juice comes down into a bin. From the bin, we pump up into the ceiling, and then the juice comes down over here where these pipes come down towards the ground.
Where it looks like an organ?
Absolutely, like an organ, and then we connect back up into the pipe work that goes up into the ceiling, and then it drops, the juice drops down beside the tank that we're about to go into. And what this means is that we can actually take juice from this end of the winery, because it's come through as grapes, and we've then squeezed the juice and then transported it to the other end of the winery where it's going to end up cold settling and then fermenting without putting any pipe work on the ground, without putting any water or juice on the ground. It just works so efficiently. And the guys love it.
For the juice
very,
as well.
very gentle, yeah.
Great. And what have we got here? I don't think I've seen this before in a winery.
No, well, what we've got here, George, is when you're building a winery of this size, it's really important to have an element of small tanks. And so what we've got here is effectively our small tank farm. So we've got 2,000 litre tanks sitting on top of a 2,000 litre tank. As you go along, you've got 5,000 on 5, 7,000 on 7. So you've got a whole wall of tanks, but they're all sitting on top of each other. So you've got the top of the bottom tank, the bottom of the bottom tank, and then bottom of the top tank, and away we go. So there you have it. And then we've got the dimple plate on the outside for looks.
Very nice.
Because looks are everything, as we know. So you've got a whole blanket here of stainless steel that works super efficiently in the winery and looks cool.
Brent, this is of course the winter season of Cellar Door, New Zealand, but have you done this wintry landscape especially for us?
No, what we've got here, George, is one of the techniques to drop out acid in wine, so we call them wine diamonds or tartaric acid, is you chill your tank right down to about -3, and you then hold it there at that temperature for about 7 days.
Right.
So what we've got here is we've got our bands of refrigeration that go right up to the top of the tank, and then we drop the glycol that's going around the bands down in temperature.
So just externally,
Just
and then
externally,
the inside.
and then you get all of this ice forming, and then the inside chills down to about -3, the acid drops out, then after about a week or so, you can then transfer the cleared wine off the top, and it's all stable. It's all acid stable, tartaric acid stable.
A barrel of diamonds at the bottom.
And you've got a barrel of diamonds at the bottom. There you go, wine diamonds.
That's great.
One last stop before we get back to the Ned.
So we're in another barrel hall, surrounded by puncheons.
So what we do, we typically use puncheons for our aging of Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and our Sauvignon Blanc, all from France. And we're really particular about the forests we use and the cooperages that we use, and really have got to know them well. So they're almost like family also, which is quite cool for us to go, what are we going to do this year, and then dial up our oak treatment.
Yeah, so you're going all the way back to there.
All the way back.
My time here is almost up, so it's on to one last Ned. We're finishing with the Pinot Noir.
What's been important to us and the family is that we retain that true sense of place that the whole Ned brand and our wine style is all about, and what's made it so popular around the world. And part of that is the controlling of our own destiny. So Leafield Station, where we've been, that was a natural extension of this property. But not only that, it's where we can actually grow fruit that carry that X factor. So the likes of the Pinot Noir, we go right up into the valleys of Leafield Station, into the gullies. We've got it all north facing. We've got almost like schist up there. So it's not the grey wacky of the river. It's almost like we have in Central Otago. And we've got little microclimates that allow us to grow fruit up there that has got exceptional fruitiness and depth and lovely soft tannins. So we look after our soil. We've now got another winery based up at Leafield, and it's one of those things that you go, you know what, going forward, the vines are getting older, we're getting better at our winemaking techniques, and we're making sure that on the way through the consumer gets to understand that story really, really well.
And it is a beautiful story too.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, and cheers.
Cheers. So what flavours do you pick up?
There's a lovely soft cherry that I get there. That's, yeah, it's that balance of the Pinot being full-bodied but still having that traditional Pinot lightness to it.
Exactly, and it's the cherries, the wild cherries, the dark berries that we're really trying to capture, and that's the beauty of being in a valley like we are at the moment. Then the barrels, those 500 litre puncheons, and the way the wine can rest through the winter period in those barrels and end up picking up that little bit of char, but retaining that lovely amount of pop of Pinot Noir. That's what it's all about. So it's depth of character, those berries coming through, but a little bit more flavour on that whole palate, and that's what we're after.
That's why it's one of my favourite wines.
Oh, there you go. We'll take cheers to that.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure. Thanks, George.
What a fantastic start to my time in the Marlborough region. I cannot wait to see what's in store next, and I hope you'll join me. I'll see you then.